Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from today, and if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Oh, and here's a fun question for you: have you ever seen someone who looked ordinary but turned out to be extraordinary? Tell me in the comments below. It was just another sunny day at the Grand Palace in London. The sky was blue, with not a single cloud in sight. The sun was shining bright, making everything look happy and cheerful. The palace was big, really big. It had tall walls made of stone, and windows that sparkled like diamonds. But the best part? The gates. Oh, those gates were amazing. They were tall and shiny, made of gold metal that glowed in the sunlight. Kids loved to stand close to them, pressing their faces against the bars to peek inside. Grown-ups loved them too, snapping pictures with their cameras, saying, "Wow, look at this place." Every day, crowds of people came to see the palace. Some were tourists from faraway places, wearing funny hats and carrying big maps. Others were families, with kids running around, laughing and pointing. Everyone wanted to see one thing: the royal guards. Those guards were famous. They stood outside the gates, still as statues, never moving, never smiling. They wore bright red coats that looked like they belonged in a storybook, and on their heads, they had tall black hats made of fluffy fur. The hats were so big, they almost covered their eyes. Kids loved to watch them march, their boots stomping on the ground in perfect lines, left, right, left, right. It was like watching a parade every single day. Everyone thought the guards were just there to look serious and march in those perfect lines. Everyone thought they were all the same, just tall, strong men who followed the rules and never, ever broke them. But here's the thing: not everything is what it seems. And not every guard was the same. There was one guard, oh, just one, who was different. His name was Tommy, and he had a story that no one knew. A story so big, so special, it could change everything. Now, let's talk about Tommy. Tommy was not like the other guards. For one thing, he was young, really young. He was only 22 years old, which is old if you're a kid, but young if you're a grown-up. Most of the other guards were much older, with big muscles and deep voices. Tommy. Well, he was small. Not tiny like a mouse, but smaller than the others. His red coat hung a little loose on his shoulders, and his tall black hat wobbled sometimes when he marched. The other guards noticed this, and oh, did they tease him. "Tommy, you're too small to be a real guard," one of them would say, laughing so hard his belly shook. "Look at you, you look like a kid playing dress up," another would add, pointing at Tommy's wobbly hat. Every day, they found something new to tease him about. If Tommy tripped over a pebble while marching, they'd laugh. If Tommy's coat got a tiny spot of dirt on it, they'd laugh. Even the tourists, those people snapping pictures, sometimes giggled when they saw him. "Oh, look at the little guard," a lady with a big camera once said, covering her mouth as she laughed. A man next to her nodded and said, "He doesn't look very serious, does he?" Tommy heard all of this. Every mean word, every laugh, every giggle. But here's the thing about Tommy: he didn't let it show. He didn't cry or yell or stomp his feet. No, Tommy just stood there, still as a statue, doing his job. His face stayed serious, his eyes looking straight ahead, just like a royal guard should. But inside? Oh, inside, Tommy felt something. He felt sad, yes, but he also felt something else, something strong. Something brave. Something that made him different from all the other guards. You see, what no one knew, what no one could even imagine, was that Tommy had a secret. A secret so big, it was like a treasure hidden deep inside a cave. It wasn't a secret about gold or jewels or magic powers. No, it was something even better. It was a secret about kindness, about bravery, about doing the right thing even when everyone else thought you were just a small, unimportant guard. But what was the secret? How could a young, small guard like Tommy have something so special inside him? And why was it so important? Let's think about that for a moment. Imagine being Tommy. Imagine standing there every day, hot sun shining on your face, crowds of people staring at you, other guards teasing you. Imagine hearing those mean words: "You're too small. You'll never do anything important." Over and over again. How would you feel? Would you want to give up? Would you want to run away and hide? Or would you keep standing there, head held high, waiting for your chance to show the world who you really are? Tommy chose to wait. He chose to stand tall, even if he was small. He chose to keep his secret safe, tucked away in his heart, until the right moment came. And oh, that moment was coming. It was coming soon, faster than anyone could guess. Something was going to happen at the palace gates, something big, something surprising, something that would make everyone stop laughing and start cheering. But what was it? Who would it involve? And how would Tommy's secret change everything? Here's a little hint, it had to do with someone else at the palace gates. Someone small, just like Tommy. Someone who was teased, just like Tommy. Someone who needed help, and someone who needed a friend. But who could it be? Was it one of the tourists? Was it one of the kids in the crowd? Or was it someone no one else noticed, someone invisible to everyone but Tommy? As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the crowds grew bigger. Kids ran around, shouting and laughing. Grown-ups snapped more pictures, their cameras clicking like crickets. The other guards stood tall, their faces serious, their boots ready to march. And Tommy? Tommy stood there too, small but strong, his secret burning inside him like a tiny flame. He didn't know it yet, but today, yes, today was going to be the day everything changed. Today was the day his secret would come out, and the world would never look at him the same way again. Every day, Tommy stood at his post, watching the crowds. His job was to stand still, really, really still, like a statue made of stone. He couldn't move his arms. He couldn't move his legs. He couldn't even blink too much. The big, shiny gates of the palace were behind him, and in front of him were hundreds of people. Some were grown-ups with cameras, snapping pictures. Some were kids, running around and shouting. Most of them didn't even look at Tommy. To them, he was just another guard in a red coat and a tall black hat. Just part of the palace, like the gates or the walls. But Tommy saw everything. His eyes were sharp, and his heart was big. And there was one person, one special person who caught his eye. Her name was Lily. Lily was a little girl, about 8 years old. She wasn't tall like some kids, and she wasn't loud like others. She had messy brown hair that looked like it hadn't been brushed in days, and she wore a faded blue dress that was a little too big for her. The dress had tiny holes near the bottom, and her shoes were old and scuffed, with laces that didn't match. But none of that mattered to Lily. Every single day, she came to the palace gates. She didn't come to take pictures or to laugh at the guards. No, Lily came for something else, something important. In her hands, she held a tiny notebook, so small it could fit in your pocket. And with that notebook, she carried a broken pencil, one that was snapped in half but still sharp enough to write. Now, here's the thing about Lily, she wasn't like the other kids. When she walked, she didn't run or skip or jump like they did. Instead, she walked with a limp. One of her legs was shorter than the other, so every step she took looked a little wobbly, a little uneven. It wasn't easy for her to walk, but she never stopped coming to the palace. Day after day, rain or shine, Lily was there, standing near the gates, holding her notebook and pencil, staring up at the guards with big, brown eyes that sparkled like stars. But not everyone was kind to Lily. Oh no, some people, especially the other kids, were mean. Really mean. When Lily stood near the gates, the other kids in the crowd would point at her and whisper things. "Look at her," one boy said, snickering so loud it echoed off the palace walls. He had spiky hair and a shiny red jacket, and he thought he was the coolest kid around. "She can't even walk right," he said, laughing as he pointed at Lily's wobbly steps. Another girl, with long blonde hair tied in a big pink bow, giggled and added, "Why does she even come here? She's so weird." The kids around them laughed, too, covering their mouths and pointing, their voices sharp like little knives. Lily heard all of this. Every mean word, every giggle, every whisper. Her cheeks turned red, bright red, like apples in the sun. Her big brown eyes dropped to the ground, staring at her scuffed shoes. She didn't yell back. She didn't cry. She didn't run away. No, Lily just stood there, clutching her tiny notebook tighter, her fingers wrapped around it like it was the most precious thing in the world. And then, after a moment, she lifted her head and stared up at the guards again. Her eyes were full of wonder, full of hope, like she was looking for something or someone to make everything okay. Tommy noticed all of this. From his post, he saw everything. He saw the mean kids pointing and laughing. He saw Lily's red cheeks and sad eyes. And oh, did it make his heart hurt? It felt like someone was squeezing his chest, making it hard to breathe. Tommy wanted to help her. He wanted to shout at those mean kids, "Stop it! Leave her alone!" He wanted to walk over to Lily, kneel down, and say, "Don't listen to them. You're special." But he couldn't. As a royal guard, he wasn't supposed to move or talk while on duty. The rules were strict, really strict. He had to stand perfectly still, like a statue, no matter what happened. If he moved, if he spoke, he could get in big trouble. He could lose his job, and then what would he do? The other guards didn't care about Lily. Not one bit. One of them, a tall guard with a bushy mustache, saw the mean kids teasing her and just shrugged. "She's just a silly kid," he muttered, his voice low and grumbly. "Ignore her, Tommy. You'll get in trouble if you don't follow the rules." Another guard, with a shiny badge on his coat, nodded and said, "Yeah, Tommy, don't be stupid. Kids like her come and go. She's not your problem." The other guards laughed, their deep voices booming like thunder. To them, Lily was nothing, just a little girl who didn't matter. To them, Tommy was nothing, too, just a small, young guard who should stay quiet and follow orders. But Tommy wasn't like the other guards. Oh no, he was different. Deep down, in his heart, he knew there was something special about Lily. He didn't know what it was not yet, but he could feel it. It was like a whisper in his mind, saying, "She's important. She needs you." Every day, as he watched her stand there alone, holding her notebook, facing the mean kids, Tommy felt something growing inside him. It wasn't anger, though he was mad at those kids. It wasn't sadness, though his heart hurt for Lily. No, it was something else, something strong, something brave, something that wouldn't let him look away. Tommy stood there, still as a statue, but his mind was racing. What could he do? How could he help? The rules said he couldn't move, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything. But his heart said something different. His heart said, rules are important, but kindness is more important. And that secret, that big, amazing secret he was hiding, started to feel bigger, brighter, like a light shining inside him. What was that secret? Was it something he knew? Was it something he could do? Or was it something about who he really was, something no one else could see? As the sun moved higher in the sky, the crowds got bigger, louder, noisier. The mean kids kept teasing Lily, their voices sharp and cruel. Lily kept standing there, her notebook tight in her hands, her eyes full of wonder. And Tommy? Tommy kept watching, his heart beating faster, his secret growing stronger. Something was going to happen, something big. But what? How? And when? Oh, you'll just have to wait and see. Days turned into weeks, and Lily kept coming to the palace gates. Every morning, when the sun was just starting to peek over the big stone walls, Lily was there. Her messy brown hair bounced as she limped toward the shiny gates, her faded blue dress swaying a little in the wind. In her hands, she always held her tiny notebook and her broken pencil. She never missed a day, not when it was hot and sunny, not when it was cold and windy, not even when it rained and her shoes got all wet and squishy. Lily was always there, standing near the gates, staring up at the guards with her big brown eyes. Tommy watched her every day. He couldn't help it. Even though he had to stand still like a statue, his sharp eyes followed Lily everywhere. At first, he thought she was just a quiet little girl who liked to watch the guards march. But as the days went by, Tommy started to notice little things about her, little things that made him wonder. For one, her notebook wasn't just for scribbling silly stuff. Oh no, it was something special. Every day, Lily wrote something in it. Her tiny hands moved fast across the pages, her broken pencil scratching the paper like a busy little bee. Sometimes, she'd stop and look at what she wrote, her lips moving like she was whispering to herself. And sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, she'd hold the notebook up to the sky, like she was showing it to someone invisible up there. Was she showing it to the clouds? To the birds? Or to someone else, someone only she could see? What was she writing? Why was it so important to her? Tommy's mind was full of questions. He wanted to know. He wanted to ask her, "Lily, what's in your notebook? Why do you hold it up to the sky? But he couldn't. The rules said he had to stay still, stay quiet, stay serious. Guards weren't supposed to talk to kids or tourists. Guards weren't supposed to care. But Tommy did care. Every time he saw Lily with her notebook, his heart felt warm, like a little candle was glowing inside him. There was something special about her, something big, something important. But what? The other kids, the mean ones, didn't care about Lily's notebook. They didn't care about her at all. Day after day, they teased her, pointing at her wobbly walk, laughing at her faded dress. "Look at her limping again," the boy with spiky hair would shout, his voice loud and mean. "She looks so funny," the girl with the big pink bow would giggle, covering her mouth with her hand. Lily's cheeks would turn red, bright red, like a strawberry. But she didn't yell back. She didn't cry. She just held her notebook tighter, like it was her shield, her armor, her best friend. Tommy saw all of this, and it made his heart hurt. But he also saw something else, something the mean kids didn't see. He saw how strong Lily was. Even though they teased her, she kept coming back. Even though they laughed, she kept writing in her notebook. Even though her leg made it hard to walk, she stood tall, her big brown eyes shining with wonder. Tommy thought to himself, "She's brave. Really brave. Braver than those mean kids will ever be." And every time he thought that, the candle in his heart burned a little brighter, and his secret, the big secret he was hiding, felt a little bigger, too. One day, something happened that changed everything. It was a busy day at the palace gates. The crowds were bigger than ever, with tourists pushing and shoving to get closer to the gates. Kids ran around, shouting and laughing. Grown-ups held up their cameras, snapping pictures left and right. The guards stood still, their red coats bright in the sun, their tall black hats wobbling a little in the wind. Tommy was at his post, watching the crowd, watching Lily, when suddenly, a big, mean-looking tourist pushed through the crowd. He was tall, with a red face and a loud voice. He wore a big black coat and carried a huge camera around his neck. "Get out of my way," he yelled, waving his arms like he owned the place. "I need to take my picture. Move, move, move." The crowd parted, but Lily didn't see him coming. She was standing near the gates, writing in her notebook, her tiny hands moving fast. The mean tourist didn't care. "Move, you little pest," he shouted, his voice booming like thunder. And then, with one big push, he knocked into Lily, hard. Her notebook flew out of her hands, spinning through the air like a bird with a broken wing. It hit the ground with a thud, and the pages flew open, flapping in the wind. Lily gasped, her big brown eyes wide with shock. "No," she cried, her voice small and scared. She dropped to her knees, trying to grab the notebook, but the wind kept blowing the pages, making them dance away from her. Tommy's heart raced. It felt like it was jumping inside his chest, thump, thump, thump. His sharp eyes caught a glimpse of what was inside the notebook, and oh, what he saw made his breath stop. The pages were full of beautiful drawings, pictures of the palace, with its tall gates and shiny walls. Pictures of the guards, with their red coats and tall hats. And there, on one page, was a picture of him. Yes, Tommy. Lily had drawn Tommy standing tall, his red coat bright, his tall hat straight. But the best part? In the picture, Tommy had a big, kind smile on his face, a smile he wasn't allowed to show while on duty. And under the picture, in big, wobbly letters, Lily had written two words, "My hero." Tommy's chest tightened. It felt like someone was squeezing his heart, but not in a bad way. In a good way. In a way that made him want to shout, to laugh, to cry, all at the same time. Lily thought he was a hero? Him. Small, young Tommy, the guard everyone teased. The guard who was too little to be important? Oh, how wrong they all were. In that moment, Tommy knew, really knew that Lily was special. And he knew something else, too. He knew he couldn't just stand there anymore. He couldn't just watch. He had to do something. But what? The other guards didn't care. When they saw the notebook fall, they just laughed. "Look at that silly kid," one of them said, his voice deep and grumbly. "She thinks you're a hero, Tommy." "Ha." Another guard, the one with the bushy mustache, smirked and said, "What a joke. A hero? You. You can't even march without tripping. The guards laughed, their voices loud and mean, echoing off the palace walls. The mean tourist laughed, too, walking away with his big camera, not even saying sorry to Lily. But Tommy didn't laugh. Oh no, he didn't laugh at all. He watched as Lily scrambled to pick up her notebook, her face red with embarrassment, her hands shaking as she tried to close the pages. The wind kept blowing, making it hard for her, and the mean kids in the crowd pointed and giggled again. Look, she dropped her stupid book, the boy with spiky hair shouted. What a baby, the girl with the pink bow added, laughing so hard she almost fell over. Lily's cheeks turned even redder, and her big brown eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. She just kept trying, kept fighting, kept being brave. And in that moment, Tommy made a decision. It wasn't a small decision, like what to eat for lunch. No, it was a big decision, a huge decision, a decision that could change everything. He wasn't going to let the rules stop him anymore. He wasn't going to let the mean guards or the mean kids or the mean tourist win. He was going to do something big, something brave, something that would show the world who he really was. But what would he do? How would he do it? And what would happen next? Oh, you'll just have to wait and see. The next day, the palace gates were busier than ever. It wasn't just a normal day, no, it was a big, special day. A huge crowd had gathered to watch the famous changing of the guard ceremony. Oh, it was a sight to see. The crowd was so big, it stretched all the way from the shiny gates to the big stone walls of the palace. There were kids jumping up and down, trying to see over the grown UPS. There were tourists with cameras, clicking pictures faster than you could blink. And there were families, all holding hands, whispering, "Wow, look at this." Everyone was excited, their voices loud and happy, filling the air like music. The changing of the guard ceremony was the best part of the day at the palace. It was when the guards showed off their perfect marching. They stood in perfect lines, their red coats bright in the sun, their tall black hats straight and tall. Their boots stomped loudly on the ground, stomp, stomp, stomp like a big drum beating. Left, right, they marched, their arms swinging, their heads held high. The crowd loved it. They clapped and cheered, shouting, "Look at them go. They're so serious. They're so strong." The guards never smiled, never waved, never stopped. They were like machines, doing everything just right, following every rule. Tommy was supposed to march with them. He was supposed to stand in line, stomp his boots, and keep his face serious, just like the others. His tall black hat was on straight, his red coat was buttoned up, and his boots were shiny. He was ready, or at least, he looked ready. But today, Tommy had a different plan. Today, he wasn't going to follow the rules. Today, he was going to do something big, something brave, something that would make everyone stop and stare. What was his plan? Oh, you'll see, you'll see. As the ceremony began, the guards started to march. The crowd clapped, their hands making a sound like thunder. The guards moved in perfect lines, their boots stomping so loud, the ground shook a little. Tommy was in the line, too, marching with the others left, right, right. But then, something happened. Something shocking. Something no one expected. Right in the middle of the ceremony, right when everyone was watching, Tommy did something he wasn't supposed to do. He stepped out of line. The crowd gasped. It was like all the air was sucked out of the palace gates. Everyone's mouths dropped open, their eyes wide like saucers. The other guards froze, their boots stopping mid-stomp, their perfect lines falling apart. "What are you doing, Tommy?" one of them hissed, his voice sharp and angry. It was the guard with the bushy mustache, the one who always teased Tommy. "Get back in line," another guard whispered, his face red with shock. But Tommy ignored them. He didn't look back. He didn't stop. He kept walking, his boots stomping on the ground, but not in the perfect line anymore. No, Tommy was marching his own way, straight toward the edge of the crowd, straight toward Lily. Lily was there, just like always. She was standing near the gates, her messy brown hair blowing in the wind, her faded blue dress hanging loose on her small shoulders. In her hands, she clutched her tiny notebook, holding it tight like it was her best friend. Her big brown eyes were wide, watching the guards march, just like every day. But today, something was different. Today, Tommy was coming toward her. The crowd watched, their whispers growing louder. "Who's that girl?" someone asked. "What's he doing?" another said. The mean kids, the ones who always teased Lily, were there, too. The boy with spiky hair smirked and said, "Oh, look, it's the limpy girl again." The girl with the big pink bow giggled and added, "Why is the little guard going to her? That's so weird." But Lily didn't hear them. Her eyes were on Tommy, and her mouth dropped open in surprise. Tommy stopped right in front of her. The crowd went silent. You could hear the wind blowing, the flags flapping, but not a single person spoke. For the first time, Tommy broke his statue-like stillness. He didn't stand straight and stiff like a guard anymore. No, he did something amazing. He knelt down on one knee, right there on the ground, so his face was level with Lily's. He looked her in the eyes, her big, brown, wondering eyes, and he smiled. Oh, it was a big, kind smile, just like the one Lily had drawn in her notebook. "Lily," he said, his voice soft but strong, "I've seen how brave you are. And I want the world to know it, too." The crowd gasped again. Lily's mouth dropped open even wider, and her hands shook a little, still holding her notebook. What was happening? What was Tommy going to do? Everyone watched, their hearts beating fast, their eyes glued to the small guard and the small girl. Then, Tommy reached into his red coat. He pulled out something small, something shiny, something special. It was a medal, a bright, gold medal, one that sparkled in the sun like a star. It wasn't just any medal, oh no. It was a medal that only the bravest royal guards were allowed to wear, a medal for heroes, for people who did amazing things. "This is for you," Tommy said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. He pinned the medal to Lily's faded blue dress, right over her heart. "Because you, Lily, are the real hero here." The crowd erupted in cheers. It was like a wave of sound, loud and happy, crashing over the palace gates. People clapped their hands, stomped their feet, shouted, "Wow! Amazing! Hooray!" Kids jumped up and down, grown-ups smiled, and even some tourists put down their cameras to clap. The mean kids, the boy with spiky hair and the girl with the big pink bow, stopped laughing. Their smirks disappeared, and they looked away, their faces red with shame. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. For the first time, they felt small, not Lily. The other guards stood there, stunned. Their mouths were open, their eyes wide, their tall black hats wobbling a little in the wind. The guard with the bushy mustache whispered, "He broke the rules." The guard with the shiny badge muttered, "He'll get in big trouble." But they didn't laugh. They didn't tease. They just watched, their faces pale, their hearts racing. They had never seen anything like this before. A guard breaking the rules? A guard helping a little girl? A guard calling her a hero? It was impossible, or so they thought. And Lily? Oh, Lily's eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't sad tears. No, they were happy tears, bright and shiny, rolling down her cheeks like little raindrops. She looked at the medal on her dress, then at Tommy, then at the crowd. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice so soft, only Tommy could hear. But then, she did something brave, something amazing. Right there, in front of everyone, she opened her notebook. She held it up high, showing the crowd her drawings, beautiful pictures of the palace, with its tall gates and shiny walls. Pictures of the guards, with their red coats and tall hats. And pictures of kindness, of smiles, of the world she dreamed of, a world where no one was mean, where everyone was brave, where everyone was a hero. The crowd clapped even louder, their cheers echoing off the palace walls. "Look at those drawings," someone shouted. "She's amazing," another said. "What a brave girl," a lady with a camera yelled. Lily smiled a big, bright smile, and for the first time, she didn't feel small or scared. She felt strong, like a hero, just like Tommy said. And Tommy? He stood up, his red coat bright, his tall hat straight, his heart full. He had done it. He had broken the rules, but he had done the right thing. And now, the world would never forget Lily or him. After that day, everything changed. Oh, it wasn't just a little change, like getting a new pair of shoes or eating a different snack. No, it was a big, huge, amazing change, like the sun coming out after a long, dark storm. The palace gates, the guards, the crowds, everything was different, and it was all because of Tommy and Lily. What happened that day, when Tommy broke the rules and called Lily a hero, wasn't just a moment. It was a spark, a bright, shiny spark that lit up the whole world around them. First, let's talk about the palace. The people who ran the palace, the big bosses in fancy suits, heard about what Tommy did. They saw how the crowd cheered, how Lily smiled, how the mean kids looked ashamed. And they thought, this is important. This is special. We need to make things better. So, they made a new rule, a big, important rule. The rule said, no more teasing or bullying at the gates. Not ever. If anyone, kids, grown-ups, tourists, anyone teased someone or said mean things, they would have to leave. No more pointing, no more laughing, no more mean words. The palace gates were now a place for kindness, for smiles, for happiness. And to make sure everyone knew about the new rule, they put up big signs near the gates. The signs were bright and colorful, with big, bold letters that said, "Be kind. No bullying allowed." The kids in the crowd saw the signs and nodded. The grown-ups saw the signs and smiled. And the mean kids? Oh, they saw the signs, too, and they didn't dare say a mean word again. Next, let's talk about the other guards. Remember how they used to laugh at Tommy? Remember how they teased him, saying, "You're too small. You'll never do anything important." Well, after that day, they stopped laughing. They stopped teasing. They looked at Tommy with new eyes, eyes full of surprise, eyes full of respect. The guard with the bushy mustache, the one who always grumbled, came up to Tommy the next day. His face was red, and his voice was soft. "Tommy," he said, "I was wrong about you. You're brave. Really brave." The guard with the shiny badge, the one who always smirked, nodded and said, "Yeah, Tommy, you did something big. Something good." From that day on, the other guards treated Tommy like a friend, not a joke. When they marched in their perfect lines, they smiled at him. When they stood still at their posts, they stood a little taller, knowing Tommy was one of them, a guard who showed them what bravery really meant. And Lily? Oh, Lily became famous. Her drawings, those beautiful pictures in her tiny notebook, didn't stay secret anymore. After Tommy gave her the medal, the palace bosses saw her drawings, too. They saw the pictures of the gates, the guards, the smiles, the kindness. And they thought, wow, these are amazing. The world needs to see them. So, they made a special exhibit at the palace, a big room full of art, just for Lily's drawings. They hung her pictures on the walls, in shiny frames, with little signs under each one that said, "Drawn by Lily, the brave artist." People from all over the world came to see them. There were kids from faraway places, with big smiles and bright eyes, saying, "Look at these pictures. They're so pretty." There were grown-ups, too, with cameras and notebooks, writing stories about Lily, the girl who drew her dreams. And there were families, holding hands, saying, "This girl is special. Really special." But the best part? The mean tourist, the big, loud man who pushed Lily and knocked her notebook to the ground, heard about Lily's drawings, too. He saw her pictures in a newspaper, with a big headline that said, "Brave girl's art shines at palace." And he felt bad. Really, really bad. He remembered how he yelled at her, how he called her a pest, how he didn't even say sorry. So, he did something surprising. He wrote a letter, a real letter, with paper and a pen. In the letter, he said, "Dear Lily, I'm sorry. I was mean to you, and I was wrong. Your drawings are beautiful, and you taught me to be kinder." He sent the letter to the palace, and when Lily got it, she smiled. She didn't hold a grudge. She didn't stay mad. No, Lily just said, "Maybe he'll be nice now." And she kept drawing, her broken pencil scratching the paper, her big brown eyes shining with happiness. Now, let's talk about Tommy. After that day, Tommy wasn't just a guard anymore. Oh no, he became something more, something bigger. The palace bosses saw how brave he was, how kind he was, how he broke the rules to do the right thing. And they thought, we need guards like Tommy. Guards who care. Guards who help. So, they gave Tommy a special job, a big, important job. They made him the teacher for new guards. Yes, Tommy, the small, young guard who everyone teased, became the one who taught others how to be brave, how to be kind, how to do the right thing, even if it meant breaking the rules. Every day, Tommy stood in front of the new guards, with their shiny red coats and tall black hats, and he said, being a guard isn't just about marching or standing still. It's about helping people. It's about kindness. It's about bravery. And the new guards listened, their eyes wide, their hearts full, thinking, wow, Tommy is amazing. And Lily? She kept coming to the palace, just like always. Every day, she limped up to the gates, her faded blue dress swaying, her tiny notebook in her hands. But now, things were different. Now, the crowds didn't ignore her. They smiled at her, waved at her, said, "Hi, Lily. We love your drawings." The mean kids didn't tease her anymore. They stayed quiet, their heads down, their faces red. And Lily's limp? Oh, it wasn't something to be ashamed of anymore. No, it was part of who she was, a strong, amazing girl who never gave up, a girl who drew her dreams, a girl who showed the world what bravery looked like. Every day, she came to visit Tommy, and they would talk and laugh, like best friends. Tommy would say, "Lily, your drawings make everyone happy." And Lily would say, "Tommy, your kindness makes everyone brave." The palace gates were now a place of joy, a place of kindness, a place where everyone felt special. The crowds clapped for the guards, but they also clapped for Lily. The tourists took pictures of the gates, but they also took pictures of Lily's drawings. And the guards? They marched with pride, knowing they were part of something good, something big, something that changed the world, one small act of kindness at a time. And so, the story of Tommy and Lily didn't just end that day. No, it kept going, growing bigger, brighter, happier. The palace was never the same, and neither were the people who came to see it. They all learned something important, something they would never forget. And what was that? Oh, you'll see in the next part, the part that ties it all together, the part that leaves you smiling, thinking, dreaming. As the sun set over the palace, the sky turned orange and pink, like a big, beautiful painting. Tommy and Lily stood together at the shiny gates, watching the crowds go home. The kids waved goodbye, the grown-ups smiled, and the palace looked quiet and happy. Sometimes, Tommy said, his voice soft but strong, the smallest acts of kindness can make the biggest difference. And sometimes, the people who look ordinary like you and me are the ones who change the world. So, what about you? Who in your life needs a little kindness today? Is it a friend who feels sad? Is it a kid who gets teased? Is it someone who feels alone? Think about it, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be someone's hero, too. Remember, you don't need a red coat or a tall hat to be brave. You just need a big heart. So, go out there, be kind, and shine bright, like Tommy and Lily.